What if I told you that most men don't go broke because of bad investments, low income, or even inflation? They go broke trying to look rich, not to build wealth, not to buy freedom, but to impress women. This is the silent trap that destroys millions of men, not because women asked for it, but because men misunderstood the game. It's not about love. It's not even about attraction. It's about psychology, ego, and survival, and the way modern society weaponizes desire against men. Today, we'll pull apart this entire system: how men are programmed to spend, why they confuse validation with success, and the financial traps that keep them running in circles. And by the end, you'll understand one simple truth. The richest men don't impress women. They attract them through power, discipline, and strategy. Let's start with a question. When did money stop being a tool and start becoming a performance? From a young age, boys are taught that wealth equals worth. You're not told to become valuable. You're told to look valuable. And the modern world rewards that illusion. A man who drives a shiny car and wears designer clothes looks like he's winning, even if he's drowning in debt, even if his confidence is borrowed from a bank. This illusion starts small: the nice sneakers in high school to get attention, the expensive phone in college to look cool, but it scales with age. The car, the apartment, the nights out, the vacations, all designed to project status but not to build it. Here's the first twist. The system doesn't just sell products, it sells status anxiety. Men are not competing with women's expectations, they're competing with other men's performances. And every time one man upgrades his lifestyle for attention, another man feels poorer by comparison. So, he upgrades too. That's how the cycle begins. To understand this trap, we have to go deeper, not into wallets, but into wiring. Evolution shaped men to signal strength, competence, and resources. In tribal times, showing you could provide meant survival. Women chose men who could not, men who pretended to. But in the modern world, that signal has been hacked. Instagram became the new savannah. Luxury brands replaced hunting skills. A blue checkmark replaced tribal reputation. And the tragedy? Men are spending not to attract women, but to prove themselves to other men in a game no one wins. Because validation is temporary. Desire fades. And bills don't. Society knows this. That's why marketing targets male pride, not logic. You don't buy a car because of its engine. You buy it because of what you think people will think when they see you in it. Advertisers understand that perfectly. They don't sell speed, they sell dominance. They don't sell watches, they sell legacy. They don't sell cologne, they sell fantasy. And every fantasy costs you something real. Now let's connect this to finance, because profitics is where money meets strategy. At the core, money has two purposes: utility and status. Utility buys comfort, security, and freedom. Status buys perception. But the return on investment between the two is drastically different. Let's say a man earns $2,000 a month. He rents a nice place for $800, buys food for $200, and instead of saving or investing the rest, he spends $1,000 on fashion, parties, or dating. He's left with nothing. But in the short term, he feels rich. Meanwhile, another man earns the same, but saves $500, invests $500, and slowly builds a foundation. At first, no one notices him. He looks boring. He's invisible to most women who chase visible status. But 10 years later, the first man is still renting, still chasing, still spending to keep up his image. The second man? He owns assets. He has freedom. And ironically now, everyone notices him. The tragedy is that men spend their wealth before they have it, trying to look like the man they could become if they had just waited. In today's dating market, money has become a performance metric. Apps, social media, and culture have turned courtship into a competition of optics. And men, whether they admit it or not, know it. You can see it in the way they post, flexing vacations, bottles, watches, gym photos, and cars. Everything designed to signal value. But here's the truth. Signaling is expensive. The more you signal, the less you build. And the less you build, the more you need to signal. That's the financial loop of male insecurity. It's not that women make men broke. It's that men use women as the reason to justify emotional spending. A man buys a car for himself, but deep down, he knows it's for the attention it brings. He pays for expensive dinners because it's polite, but subconsciously, it's to buy validation. The more he does this, the more he ties his identity to external approval. And when that approval fades, so does his confidence. Now he's left with two things: debt and silence. Here's where this gets serious. Financially, every dollar spent on impression is a dollar not spent on expansion. Let's break that down. $300 on a status dinner could have been 3 shares of a major tech company. $2,000 on a designer watch could have been seed capital for a side business. $20,000 on a luxury car could have been a down payment on real estate. Every decision compounds not just in profit, but in identity. The man who invests becomes strategic. The man who spends becomes dependent. And dependency is the opposite of attraction. Because here's the paradox. The more you try to impress women with money, the less you actually have. And the less you have, the less powerful you become financially and emotionally. Men who chase admiration end up owned by their image. Men who build silently end up owning their future. The first man is addicted to attention. The second man is addicted to progress. One pays for validation. The other gets paid for value. Let's expose the system that thrives on this. Modern marketing depends on male insecurity. From colognes to cars to crypto scams, every product plays on the same emotion. You are not enough until you buy this. That insecurity fuels the entire consumer economy. But here's the darker truth. Even the dating economy is built around it. Think about it, from dating apps that reward flashy photos to influencers who profit from envy. Every layer monetizes male attention. Men spend to be noticed. Women monetize being noticed. Corporations monetize both. And yet, neither side wins long term. Because men become broke, women become disillusioned, and the corporations keep the profit. The system is designed to make you signal success, not achieve it. Because a man who achieves real financial independence doesn't spend endlessly. He becomes harder to control. That's why the system doesn't want men content. It wants them performing. Performing for likes, performing for love, performing for relevance. And performance is expensive. Let's go inside the mind of a man who goes broke trying to impress women. He doesn't see himself as insecure. He sees himself as generous, confident, and romantic. But underneath, there's a belief that he must buy worth. Because somewhere along the way, he was taught that money equals masculinity. That success isn't about inner power, it's about outer display. So he spends to silence the doubt, to look like he belongs, to feel like a man. But with every purchase, the hole gets deeper. Because what he's buying isn't love or respect, it's temporary relief. The moment the attention fades, the anxiety returns. So he spends again. And this becomes a loop of emotional finance, a cycle of external validation that feels like progress, but drains real potential. In psychology, this is called status addiction, and it's as destructive as any other addiction, because it gives pleasure, but takes freedom. Eventually, some men snap out of it. it happens quietly. Maybe when the credit card bill arrives. Maybe when the woman he tried to impress chooses someone else, someone simpler, quieter, or wealthier. Maybe when he realizes he's living paycheck to paycheck, with nothing to show but memories and receipts. That's the breaking point. And that's where strategy begins. Because strategy is born when emotion dies. When you stop reacting and start designing, he begins to ask better questions. What am I really chasing? What do I want my money to do for me? Who am I trying to prove myself to? That's when he realizes money is not for impressing, it's for liberating. Once a man realizes this, he starts playing a different game. He no longer spends to look rich, he spends to become rich. Instead of buying signals of power, he starts building sources of power. He invests in skills, in networks, in assets, in his health and focus. He realizes that every dollar can either serve his ego or his empire, and he chooses the empire. This is where wealth truly begins, when money is no longer a mirror, but a weapon. Because in the end, true status doesn't come from what you show. It comes from what you control. The quiet man who owns land has more power than the loud man who rents a car. The investor who builds systems has more leverage than the influencer who posts luxuries. Power isn't visible. It's silent. And silence is the loudest flex. Let's condense everything into 3 clear takeaways, the Profitics way. 1. Attraction is a side effect, not a goal. When you build value, attraction follows naturally. Women respect men who move with purpose, not panic. Focus on becoming the kind of man who doesn't need to prove himself, because that's the man who truly commands attention. 2. Wealth is not about what you show, it's about what you keep. Luxury without leverage is slavery. You don't win by owning expensive things. You win by owning control over your time, your choices, and your emotions. The moment you stop buying for validation, you start building for freedom. 3. Never perform for approval, perform for progress. Every dollar you spend should move you forward, not just make you look forward. If it doesn't multiply your options or strengthen your foundation, it's a distraction, not an investment. The danger isn't that you'll go broke once, it's that you'll get used to it. Used to pretending, used to performing, used to chasing illusions instead of building reality. And that comfort is deadly. Because once you normalize spending to impress, you'll never feel rich enough, even when you are. The world will keep inventing new ways to make you feel behind. New brands, new trends, new lifestyles to envy. But remember, the system doesn't care if you're happy. It just wants you hungry. Hungry enough to buy, hungry enough to perform, but never full enough to be free. So the next time you're about to spend money to look successful, pause. Ask yourself, who am I trying to impress? And why do I need their approval? Because real power doesn't beg for validation. It creates it. The man who impresses no one but himself becomes unstoppable. Because he no longer plays their game, he designs his own. And when you reach that point, you'll understand something deep. The richest men don't spend to attract women. They attract women because they don't need to spend. They move with calm, purpose, and focus, and that's magnetic. The broke impressor screams, "Look at me." The wealthy strategist whispers, "You'll find me." If you're tired of playing the losing game, stop performing. Start strategizing. This channel, Profitics, is where money meets strategy. We don't chase attention, we build leverage. We don't flex, we multiply. So if you're ready to escape the trap, subscribe and join the movement. Because while most men spend to impress, you'll be the one building to dominate.